Hello, and welcome to your new favorite bookish podcast, Fully Booked and Caffeinated. I'm Heather.
And I'm Kelsey.
And on today's episode, we will be discussing Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. Now, as usual, before we get into discussion about the book, let's talk about what keeps us going, the almighty coffee.
Always.
So today I went to Starbucks, and they still have holiday flavors. Not all of them. For whatever reason, they still have peppermint. Don't know how. I guess they just bought too much syrup.
They just too much peppermint this year.
So I got a venti white chocolate peppermint mocha.
Oh, white chocolate
Iced,
peppermint
obviously.
Mocha. Okay, that sounds delicious.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm enjoying that. How about you?
I got an iced vanilla chai, and it was like very fancy. It was from this brunch place in Philly, and it had whipped cream and cinnamon, and it's delicious, and I'll drink chai anything. So, but I don't like when there's too much chai. This is like the perfect amount, which is also a holiday flavor, I would argue.
I agree.
So we're both embracing the holiday flavor, even though this episode is coming out in March.
I know, but it's fine.
It's fine. Anything
It's fine.
to get us through seasonal depression.
True. Accurate. Correct.
Well, cheers.
Cheers. Happy podcasting. So we usually always talk about the author a little bit before we get into the book, and the interwebs does not have a lot of information on Adrienne Young. I think it's because she's kind of a new and upcoming author, but there are a few things about her. So regardless of being maybe not as well known as other authors, she's still a New York Times and international bestseller. So she's got that. Mm-hmm. She's best known for her young adult books. So she has 2 series out, the Sky and Sea duology, and then the Fable series, which I have seen a lot on Bookstagram. Okay. And I think it's up my alley. So it's a series that I definitely plan on checking out. And the book we're reading today, we already read it, obviously. Sorry. The book we're discussing today is her first time writing just normal adult fiction.
Okay. I definitely see that. It definitely reads as more young adult than some of the other books that we've read and discussed.
Yes. But regardless, I think it was a great book, and we're going to talk about it. So, typically, I also get my descriptions of the book off Goodreads. Not today. I know. How dare.
We're really switching things up. I don't know how I feel, but all right, let's do this.
Throwing us all for a loop. You guys there's a certain thing that we do, and I'm messing it up.
You're keeping us on our toes.
But it's from her website.
Okay.
The description. So it's more like legit, I guess.
Yeah, I think it gives you a pass.
Yes, because I feel like Goodreads, while some Goodreads descriptions can still be long, I feel like they kind of consolidate it a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they do it like to make sure there's no spoilers.
Yeah.
You know?
So the author description is definitely longer, and I'm going to try my best not to get winded.
Okay, let's do it.
So, Spells Forgetting. It's a rural island community steeped in the mystical superstitions of its founders and haunted by an unsolved murder, and the town is upended by the return of the suspected killer in this deeply atmospheric novel. Emery Blackwood's life was forever changed on the eve of her high school graduation, when the love of her life, August Salt, was accused of murdering her best friend Lily. Now she is doing what her teenage self swore she would never do, living a quiet existence among the community that fractured her world in two. She had once longed to run away with August, eager to escape the misty remote shores of Cersei Island and chase new dreams. Now she maintains her late mother's tea shop and cares for her ailing father. But just as the island, rooted in folklore and tradition, begins to show signs of strange happenings, August returns for the first time in 14 years and unearths the past that no one wants to remember. August Salt knows he is not welcome on Cersei, not after the night that changed everything. As a fire raged on at the Salt family orchard, Lily Morgan was found dead in the dark woods, shaking the bedrock of their tight-knit community and branding August a murderer. When he returns to bury his mother's ashes, he must confront the people who turn their backs on him and face the one wound from the past that has never healed, Emery. But the town has more than one reason to want August gone, and the emergence of deep betrayals and hidden promises that span generations threatens to reveal the truth behind Lily's death once and for all. Evocative and compelling, Spells for Forgetting is a vivid exploration of lost love and the unraveling of a small town and its many secrets.
Okay.
Dun, dun, dun.
I love it. That last sentence is a real eye catcher. You know what I mean? That really pulls you in. But I like that the description is that long because it even tells like the relationships between all of the people, which you wouldn't necessarily know. Because there are a lot of people in this book. There's a lot of characters.
And there's so many moving parts.
Yeah. You think it's one thing, but you're wrong. It's about something else.
Especially because it time jumps a lot.
Yes.
And there's different POVs. They literally probably have at least 10 different character POVs throughout the book.
Yeah.
So it's a lot.
Mm-hmm. And at first you think it's just going to be mostly Emery and August. And then as you get into the book, they start throwing in the other characters. Mm-hmm. And I liked it. I thought it was going to be confusing at first, but I liked when they started, introducing, because we found all these different secrets from all these different people.
Yeah. And I feel that the author did a really good job of tying it all together.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Because it was a lot to follow, but I wasn't confused.
No, which is nice. Because I think that sometimes time jumping and different POVs can be repetitive and confusing. And this wasn't that at all.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree.
Yeah. So while I didn't do my description from Goodreads, I still, of course, looked at Goodreads to see what they say about the book. So on Goodreads, they consider this book to be a mystery/thriller.
Okay.
So, to an extent, I don't think it's a thriller whatsoever.
No, I completely agree.
We read thrillers.
Yeah.
This is not a thriller.
Yeah.
But I will give it the mystery. Because there is definitely an air of mystery throughout the book.
Yeah, and you are reading the entire thing trying to solve Lily's death and August's involvement and Emery's involvement and everyone's involvement. So the mystery I totally get. Thriller, I don't see at all because it was such a slow burn book. Like everything is like unraveling slowly as you get more and more information. There's not a single part where it's like, oh my gosh, there's the twist. You know what I mean? Like it's all building up. So I don't know about the thriller, but
also maybe how Goodreads just automatically, if it's a mystery, it just automatically might just get thrown in the mystery thriller category.
Yeah, that's true too.
You know what I mean? It might not. They might not be saying it's a thriller, but now that I'm thinking about it, the website themselves might just do. They might not have too much of an expansion.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
So, but I think that this book is definitely a major magic realism vibe. So to explain, in case some of you don't know what magical realism truly is, it's a style of literary fiction that paints a realistic view of the world while adding magical elements, often blurring the lines between fantasy and reality.
Yes, that's 100% this book.
And to be honest, magical realism is one of my top 5 favorite genres.
Yeah, I can see that. I really like the blurring line because it doesn't make it so outlandish and so hard to believe. Like it's just seamless that the magic just exists. It just is.
Yeah. And this was a really good magical realism book.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah. I really, really liked it. So also, aside from the theme of magical realism, there is also the theme of witchy influences and a heavy tone of betrayal on multiple fronts. Betrayal.
There is not a single person, a single character. I have to say character, not person. We'll explain why later. There's not a single character that does not have some type of betrayal, have some type of secrets, has not lied to someone, withheld information. Nope. I mean, this is a very dark place that we're talking about.
I feel like the only character that was pure was Emery's grandmother, Albertine.
Oh yeah.
Sweet baby angel. blind woman, adorable, lover.
And she tells that, like, she was trying to teach Emery from a young age how to respect magic and how to, like, respect the dark magic, respect the light magic. And, you know, so she's the only one who's looking out for everybody, honestly.
Yeah. I know, honestly.
We need more Albertine.
Yeah. So because this book jumps all over the place, it's not really one that we can talk about in a continuous flow of how the book goes because it jumps around so much. Yeah. So instead, we're just going to take separate parts and talk about it that way to make it easier so that this is not a hot mess.
Sounds good. It might still be a hot mess, but we're doing our best.
Probably, but we are doing our best. So to start, the first thing we should discuss is the core four of the group. We have the four kids, Emery, August, Lily, and Dutch.
Yes.
So these four have this friendship, and they basically do everything together on the island. Mm-hmm. They're constantly hanging out. Because it's kind of a remote island, I'm assuming there's not too much to do.
Yeah, that's very true.
It's a lot of like swimming, going to the lighthouse, stuff like that. Yeah. But they're always together.
And this is before.
Yeah.
So this is...
Yes, this is the before.
Yeah, they're seniors in high school, obviously. Yeah. Because they're leading up to their graduation night. And they're just best friends who, like you said, there's not much to do. So all they do is really drink, smoke weed, and go swimming.
Yeah, exactly. And as they grow older throughout like their youth, Emery and August end up realizing that they have feelings for each other and they become the core couple in the group.
Yeah.
But plot twist, Lily loves August and Dutch loves Emery. So it's a huge thing. So Dutch and Lily are like, well, they fucking, so we might as well fuck.
Yes.
Because what else are we going to do?
But also, Emery has no idea. Emery has no clue that Dutch is in love with her and that Lily is in love with August. She just thinks like, no, me and August, we have this great relationship and we're so lucky that we get to hang out with our best friends all the time.
Yeah.
She's a little naive, Emery Blackwood.
Oh, absolutely. And I think when she gets older is when her eyes really open to like everything. Yeah. She becomes more self-aware.
Yeah, I think she kind of gets stuck as that same age when everything happened. And then she's kind of forced to age quickly when August returns later on.
Yes. Yes, I agree. So it's this group of four that are always together. And then the night of the fire happens. And just basically all hell breaks loose. We'll get into August and the fire, but he ends up leaving the island. And then Lily dies. She's murdered. Allegedly. And then actually... Emery and Dutch, when you get into the present, they're together. But it's purely physical for Emery. Obviously not for Dutch, because he's held the torch for her for so long and he wants to marry her, but she can't. And Kelsey, you want to tell us why she can't fall in love with Dutch?
Oh, I was hoping you'd ask. So she kind of plays it off as like she's not ready for that commitment. He's proposed several times, which... I mean, I admire his trying again and again.
Tenacity.
Thank you, yes. But the reason that Emery cannot fully give herself to Dutch is because she is bound to August. And I'm not talking because they never officially broke up. I'm talking because of the blood moon banging, okay?
Woo-hoo!
So Emery basically traps August. I mean... I'm not saying he wouldn't have been willing if she asked, but there was no consent involved. She knew that it was the night of a blood moon and knew that if you consummate your relationship and fuck under that moon, you are bound together for all of eternity. And so guess what? That's what they did. That's what they did.
And that there is one theme of witchy influence.
Yes. Yeah. And she doesn't really say it, like acknowledge that that's why she can't get August out of her head. And then randomly in one of the chapters, it's like a light bulb goes off and she's like, oh yeah, remember I did that blood moon banging thing? That probably has something to do with the fact that I'm fully Like, she cannot get over August. It's been
No.
14 years, and she still feels like he's literally a part of her, and like a part of her
Yeah.
is missing when he's gone.
And she tries, her grandma tells her, like, you have to, like, cut the bond, the bond, and she can't do it.
Well,
She
and her
just can't.
grandma doesn't, you get the vibe that her grandma doesn't really want her to, because she's like,
I agree.
you can't undo this. Like, once you
Yeah.
do it, and that's what she says. There are spells for breaking and spells for mending, but there are no spells for forgetting. So she's like, that's fine if you want to cut this tie, but you'll never forget the effect that he had on your life. You'll never forget the love that you guys experienced. So you'll just end up hurting
You'll
yourself
still
anyway.
feel how you feel,
Exactly.
maybe without that longing, but you'll still feel the heartbreak.
Exactly. Yeah. So they get right up to it, right up to the minute of doing the spell, and Emery cannot do it because in the back of her mind, obviously she still loves August, and I think she wants to figure out what happened. She wants to figure out why he left all those years ago and never got back in touch with her. And she tried to find him for years and years, we find out, and she feels just completely abandoned.
Yeah, she does. And even August came back to, when he wasn't supposed to, he came back to the island one time to see her. And at that point, that was when he kind of was like, I need to just let her go.
Yeah, yeah. And he didn't know that she had been basically not pining for him, but basically couldn't get over the fact that he was gone. Like, she
They
was
both
grieving.
were, yeah, and neither of them knew that they were trying to find each other initially, that they still loved each other. They still carried this love for so long, but they never were able to talk about it. Or,
And there was,
like you said, they were grieving.
exactly, and there was so many
There was
other
no closure.
elements because also Emery lost her best friend, and August felt guilty for having to leave the island because he says, like, over all those years, he knew that his mother missed the island. She never actually wanted to leave, but she left with him. They never explicitly said that August and his mom had to leave, but they had to leave. So they basically got out of there before they were run out of there.
Yes, yes.
So
Yeah, so those are like our four, I would call, main characters.
yeah.
Dutch isn't a massive main character, but he's kind of like an honorable mention. I would give him
and
that.
without him, the rest of the story doesn't happen.
Agree.
And
Agree.
also, I think we need to acknowledge that even though Emery is just with Dutch for the physical, it's also because there's no one else on the island who has been through the same thing. That, like, they both lost their friends. They both are the only people on the island who have defended August for all of those years and said that he didn't hurt Lily. So they're basically just together out of, like, necessity. Not necessity, but they don't have anyone else, you know?
Exactly. And they grew up together and they know each other's, I'm sure, secrets to a point because they were all friends. And when you think about it realistically, I wonder how many people are truly on this remote island that you can actually start a relationship with without leaving.
Right.
So I feel like the ancestral families automatically, it's almost like an arranged marriage per se, but not really. But it's just, you kind of just keep it within the families. You just constantly marry a Morgan, a Salt, a Blackwood. It's just kind of like how it goes, I think.
Yeah, and also Emery had such a sense of loneliness that it's like, if Dutch is going to pay attention to her and keep her bed warm at night, I mean, even though she was definitely leading him on, which was fucked up, but Dutch isn't that great, so I don't feel bad.
No, and I feel like he probably knew in the back of his head that it was never going to happen, but he was just so in love with her and just kept hoping.
And thought that,
and
like,
pining.
his chance was finally there because August and Lily were gone.
Yeah, exactly. So that would be our core four. So the next part we'll talk about is the supporting characters or the ancestors / elders of the island. So there's Leota Morgan, who is Lily Morgan's grandma, and she owns the apothecary on the island, and she's a bad bitch.
She's a bad, mean bitch. Yeah. Yeah, she's basically the midwife of the entire island. She delivers all the
Yes.
babies, and she's their holistic healer. So she has all of her magical herbs, and if anyone has a
Mm-hmm.
cold, they go to her. If anyone has, any type of sicknesses, they go to her. And it's another part of that magic that runs through the island.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then there is Emery's uncle Jake, who is the sheriff of this town.
Uh-huh.
Again, he's problematic
He's
throughout
there's
the book.
one cop
The
on this
alcoholic.
island, and
Yeah.
he drinks from the minute he wakes up. He
Sun up to sundown.
starts with beer and then switches to whiskey, just
Yep.
every day. And he
Yep.
is haunted by the fact that the only murder that's ever happened on this island, he couldn't officially solve it. He thought that August
Yeah.
did it, but he couldn't prove it because there wasn't any proof. And he's just very protective over Emery, and there's kind of like that like contention between them because she believes
Yeah.
that August is innocent.
But I think a part of me also, Jake wanted to believe that August was innocent because he was in love with Eloise, August's mother.
Yeah.
And Calvin, August's father, was out of the picture
Yeah.
before August was born. So Jake was kind of an honorary father figure without actually being his father. So they had a relationship. So I'm sure it was hard for him to believe that a boy that he practically helped, not that he raised him, but he was there for him.
Yeah, that's a whole nother
Ended up-
element in here. Like
Yeah.
like you said, he was literally a stand-in father. And
Yeah.
August says that, but then the second that August comes back, Jake is like, "Doot, doot, 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 doot. August, the fuck are you doing here? You need to leave ASAP."
Yeah.
So he his feelings switch in a second when he thought that August did this. And I think it's exactly like you said, he didn't want to actually believe it. So it's like, I'd
Yeah.
rather just stop thinking about him and put him out of my mind.
Exactly. And then we already talked about Albertine a little bit. She's Emery's grandma. Perfect little bean. Love her. And then there's kind of what's known, I would say, like the ancestral committee, and it has a couple other members. It has Emery's parents. It has her aunt Nixie, and it has like a couple other just random dudes that are also part of the founding families of the island.
Yeah. Who are like relevant,
And-
but not relevant enough.
Yeah. And so they kind of come together throughout the book in the past and the present, and they make decisions for the island. For instance, one thing they do is they basically murder August's father.
Yeah. Which August sure didn't know. Emery sure didn't
No.
know. They thought
No.
that he abandoned them.
Just dipped. He's like, I'm just gonna, because he was a drunk too, and he was physically abusive to Eloise, which was a trend for him because his father beat him. So it's a whole thing. But so clearly they just kind of come together and they make these decisions of what's best for the island,
Yes,
kind of thing.
exactly. It's like they're
So-
the governing body, but the nature of the island kind of affects their decision making. Let's put it that way, which we'll
Exactly.
come back.
And
for sure.
speaking of, the island is another part of the book that
Yes.
it's kind of its own part.
Yeah, hence why we had to say characters and not people,
Yes.
because
Because the island is definitely a character.
yes,
Some would say also a supporting character of this novel.
I completely agree. A character that this book would not exist without.
No, definitely.
So here's a quote about Cersei Island. "Sometimes the signs were subtle, like a fleeting shadow or an echo in the trees. Other times the island wasn't gentle with her words." So the island has a personality, and the island is making
Yeah.
things happen. And they kind of insinuate that the island has this, like they said, the shadow over it, but it has its own dark magic, and it's kind of the reason that everyone is just wild and ultimately bloodthirsty.
Yeah, and also it kind of has a pull on you if you're from the island. If you leave, it always tries to call you to come back.
Yes, yeah. And that was part of what Eloise struggled with. She didn't feel like herself outside of the island. Sorry.
And she wasn't even someone that was probably from like a founding family, but grew up on the island, and she was obviously still important to the island. She built a life there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
And
I
her
think no
son
matter what-
was a Salt. So
Yeah, which was a founding family. So But yeah, another part is so the morning that August arrives on the ferry, Emery knows something has changed on the island even before she lays eyes on him. The trees on the island have changed color overnight, the birds are acting strange, and it feels like a storm is coming. Which a storm is a brewing.
Oh, a storm is coming. It's coming.
Maybe not a physical storm, but definitely a storm of betrayal
Oh, yeah. A
and death.
storm of secrets. Oh my gosh. Yep.
Yeah, literally. So those are kind of like the bigger parts of the book, and it jumps between all of these characters and their POVs and everything, and from the past and the present. So the biggest part of Cersei Island, which is during the summer a tourist area. So this island thrives in the summer from tourists.
And
so
fall.
people come for like the witchy stuff. They'll go to the tea shop to get their tea leaves read. They'll go to the apothecary for all those kind of things. And they go to for whatever reason, this place is just
The most
the living, breathing.
magical orchard in all of the land.
And it's just apparently the be-all place in Cersei Island.
They
Everyone
must
wants
have
to go to the
magic
orchard.
apples.
And
That's
it's,
the only...
I'm assuming,
It's the
big
only
moneymaker.
explanation as to why everyone comes here.
so the orchard is originally in the Morgan family. It was originally a Morgan family heirloom thing. Not an heirloom, you know what I mean. It was like their
it
baby.
was their legacy.
Yeah, their legacy. Thank you. That's what I meant. So, but at the time in the book, it belongs to Henry Salt, August's grandfather.
Yes.
And the reason why he has it is because a Salt married a Morgan.
Yeah. So somewhere back in the bloodline, it was transferred from the Morgans to the Salts. And now it's in possession of the Salts, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. And so Leota Morgan is hell-bent on getting this orchard back in the Morgan name, where it truly belongs.
Truly. It was meant to be the Morgans.
Yes, exactly. So that was kind of her whole thing. She just really wants this orchard back. So the first thing that they do, and there was kind of an ulterior motive for Leota for getting rid of Calvin, because he would be the heir to the orchard after Henry Salt dies.
Yes.
So Leota's like, you know what? He's beaten his wife. Yeah, let's get rid of him. That's the only reason why. But truly, she was like, nah, I want that orchard back.
Yeah. And then it creates this huge issue between Henry and Eloise, because he says Eloise is not a true Salt just because she had a baby with Calvin. The orchard is never going to go to her, even though she spends her entire time on the island making sure that the orchard is running. She manages it. August works the ridiculous amount of hours. He eats, sleeps, breathes, bleeds this orchard. And Henry says, you know, at the end of the day, you're not going to get the orchard. You didn't earn it because you're not truly a Salt, which is so
I know.
gross.
But then it was kind of, we skipped over two where Leota thinks that she's good to go, but then Eloise gives birth to August.
Yeah.
And it's another ancestor that's going to fall to him. And so she's, because she's a midwife, so she gives birth to the babies, and she sees August and she's like, you're going to be the bane of my existence. Like, you're going to fuck everything up for me.
Yeah. So she hated him from literally the second he was born.
Absolutely. Yes. So this is where, once they kind of realize that Henry's not going to leave the orchard to August, Leota tries to work some dark magic. And she basically is trying to kill Henry.
Yeah. She casts a spell to kind of kill him slowly and appear naturally.
And yeah,
Our girl Albertine.
yeah,
She said,
yeah.
no, no, no. And she didn't know who it was, but she sensed the spell and the dark magic, and she binds the magic of whoever cast the spell. So she doesn't know that it's Leota. We find out later that Leota cannot use her magic because she's been bound. But Albertine is just like, it doesn't matter who it is. Someone is trying to kill Henry. I'm going to put a stop
Yeah.
to that.
And so she basically binds Leota's magic, and from that point forward, Leota loses all ability to cast spells. She can't do
Yes.
anything.
Yeah.
She's completely binded. So, and of course, that makes her an angry person.
Yeah.
Because, like I said,
She's
she's a bad
not
bitch.
happy.
Yeah.
And because she was trying to use magic to solve all of her problems. Dark magic to solve all of her problems.
Yeah. So, one of the biggest events of the novel is the fire. And the reason for the fire, so prior to it occurring, Emery and August decide that they want to escape Cersei Island after graduation, and they want to start their lives somewhere else. They don't want to be on the island. You know, August is getting beat by his grandfather. Emery doesn't want to live her parents' life. She wants to do more. So they're like, you know what, we're going to leave, and it's going to be fine. And Henry finds out about this, and he basically, threatens August with his mom, saying, I'm not leaving it to her, and I'm going to make her life living hell if you leave.
Yeah. So basically he's like, if you leave and you're not here for me to take my anger out on, I'm going to be taking it out on your mom. And he knows that August would never intentionally let something happen to his mom. They have such a close relationship because, first of all, they both have to deal with Henry's bullshit. And second of all, it's always been just the two of them because Calvin has never been, you know, in their lives as them together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So August is just livid. Other things happen that we'll get to. And he's just like, I'm just going to fucking set this shit aflame. He's like, he's done.
He's also a 17 or 18-year-old boy who's been consistently being beaten, overworked, told how worthless he is. And he finally sees a way out and thinks that he's ready to start his life with the person he loves, the person who he is bound to. Did we mention that? They're bound together. Yep. And he just sees all of that is potentially going to be taken away from him.
Yeah. And so he sets the fire, and then that same night, Lily is murdered. So it's just a whole mess for the island the next morning.
Yeah. And we never find out who set the fire. So basically, for the past 14 years, they've thought that the fire was basically an accident, right?
Yes.
Because August never admitted to it because Emery's father got very hurt in the fire. He's covered in...
So he felt guilty about that.
Sorry. Yeah, and he could never bring himself to tell Emery that he's the reason that her father, you know, got so hurt in the fire.
Yeah. And for whatever reason, August seems to be the number one suspect of murdering Lily.
Yeah, which doesn't really make sense.
But I think Leota pushed for it because, again, she just wants August gone.
Yeah. And then Jake kind of pushes for it, which is weird because we talk about how he was, you know, the father figure, but he pushes for it because he's like, oh, well, there's a history of violence in, you know, in August that's in his genes.
So what it comes down to is basically August is kind of shunned from the island, and his mom obviously isn't going to let him go alone. So, and because now she's kind of tainted in a way because her son is believed to be a murderer. So Eloise and August leave the island and they're never allowed to come back.
Yeah. And the reason that they don't have enough, first of all, there's no evidence, but also because Dutch covers for August and gives him an alibi so that they're never able to convict him. So everything is just kind of secrets layered upon secrets layered upon secrets. August won't cop to setting the fire because of Emery's dad. Dutch gives him the alibi. So that covers, you know, that stops them from being able to do anything further with August. And then, like you said, they just have to disappear from the island because even though he doesn't technically get convicted, he's guilty in the eyes of every single person except for Emery.
Yeah, Emery truly believed his innocence from the beginning and didn't necessarily doubt him. So 14 years later from that date, Eloise passed away, and the one thing she wanted was her ashes to be laid on Cersei Island, her home. So August reluctantly comes back. He's like, I'm going to be here for 24 hours, 48 hours tops, and then I'm out of here. Clearly that's not what happens.
And he also doesn't know what's happened since he left.
No.
Like, he doesn't know that Emery and Dutch are together. He doesn't know that Emery took over the tea shop. He doesn't even know for sure if Emery's still there until he shows up.
Exactly. And so he doesn't really know what he's walking into. And because he's back on the island, the ancestors are all in a tizzy. They're like, this guy's back. He's going to ruin our plan. He's going to ruin everything. He's going to find out. So basically, when because Henry does pass, and then the orchard goes to the town because he signed the deed to the orchard to the town, which, seems sus and everything.
Yeah. But August was gone, and August wasn't coming back. So that part makes sense.
Yeah. And so he's back in town. People are upset. Like you said, August finds out about Emery and Dutch, and him and Dutch, I believe, get into an altercation.
Oh, yeah. And this is why Dutch is not a great person, because he basically is rubbing it in August's face that he's been with Emery all of these years. And immediately when August returns and him and Emery see each other, they're immediately drawn together again.
Yeah,
they immediately
their connection
feel that,
is just there.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course, they end up like reconnecting.
Yeah, but it's weird because Emery goes through this cycle kind of where she's like, okay, it's 14 years later. Was I misguided in defending him all those years ago? Was I not able to look past my love for him? Am I, is he really guilty? Like, because she doesn't know that he set the fire. She doesn't know any of this backstory. I think the first thing she finds out is that Dutch confesses to providing an alibi that wasn't real, or that he covered for August, and he doesn't actually know where August was at that time.
And then she does eventually find out, August does admit to her that he started the fire. And so this is kind of where it hits a point and then the book starts to escalate towards that kind of, the mystery really starts to come out in the book.
Yeah.
And so Emery is kind of like, I need to do some research.
Yeah. She's like, I'm going to get to the bottom of this because I need to know if I've been defending August for 14 years and he's actually guilty.
Yeah, and she wants to prove his innocence. That's kind of also what she wants to do. So she finds the deed, and she sees that on the deed, August had to be the one to sign the orchard over to the town. And she's like, but he hasn't been here in 14 years. How did he sign this?
So whose signature is that?
Because it's notarized by, Nixie, saying that he signed it in front of her, but he's never been back on Cersei Island. So at that point, Emery's wheels are turning, and she's like, something's not right.
Because at that same time, she also finds out from the file that she stole from, the sheriff's office, that Lily was pregnant.
Yes.
When she died. And her uncle tries to get her to believe that the baby belonged to August.
Which Emery is like, no way.
Yeah, she believes it for like 5 seconds. And then she's like, wait, that would never happen. But she also doesn't believe that Lily was pregnant. Like, she's like, there's no way that my best friend was pregnant and didn't tell me. She thought Lily was a virgin.
Yeah.
And she's like, she would have told me. So there's like two different things. She's like, I know that August didn't sign over the deed, so that's like a point for his innocence. But then Lily's pregnant and we don't know whose baby that is, so is that a point for him, against him? We don't know. She's
exactly.
She's stuck in the middle of this mystery.
And she tells August, like, you need to get a copy of your grandfather's will because something's not adding up here. And so he has a lawyer friend up in Seattle, and he calls him and he's like, I need you to get me a copy of this will, So as we talked about, Emery stole Lily's murder file from her uncle's office, and in it, she like finds some discoveries. For instance, a piece of evidence was redacted. So she confronts Jake, and she's like, what was this piece of evidence that was redacted? Like, you need to tell me. And Jake admits, well, your necklace was by Lily's body. And
Yeah.
Emery's like, what do you mean? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And she was like, I knew it was yours. It was the butterfly necklace your father bought you. So Jake was trying to cover for Emery, not knowing if she really had anything to do with it, but
Yeah.
he's choosing his family over his job at that point.
Yeah. He doesn't say, like, I covered for you because I thought that you did it. And I was, trying to pin it on August instead. But he's like, I'm going to get rid of anything that points back to Emery because, like you said, he's protecting her. So he just completely took that out of the file, got rid of the photos, destroyed all the evidence that Emery had anything to do with anything.
Yeah. And so Emery continues to dig through this file, and it's then that she realizes some of the items that were with Lily's body were kind of indications that a spell was being cast. There was wax. There was
the bracelet made of willow.
The bracelet, the willow bracelet. And at that point, she remembers Albertine teaching her and Lily that to make the willow bracelet to protect you from the residual energy of, like, dark magic.
Yeah. Yeah.
To protect you from it.
That's the first thing that she's like, wait a minute. So if she had a willow bracelet, she must have been trying to do some dark magic.
Yes. And then she recalls the day of graduation when all this stuff happened, that someone had broken into Albertine's house. But they never really got to the bottom of it. So,
yeah, and nothing was missing, but Albertine is, blind, so she knew that someone was there, but she didn't know who it was.
Yes, and then Emery goes to Albertine's house, and they talk about this, and she brings up the things that she found that were with Lily's body, and Albertine is like, well, this is a dark magic spell. This is all the stuff that's required. And so she reads all the things that she needs in order to make it happen. And then she also remembers the day before graduation, Lily wanted her to read her tea leaves. And Emery didn't want to. That's more her mom's thing, but she's like, okay, like, I'll do it for you. And the tea leaves read death was coming for Lily.
Yeah.
And Emery was like, oh no. And then when Lily wants to know, she knocks it out of her hand, and she's like, oh, it was like love. You're going to find love. Which, of course, makes Lily happy because she thinks that she's not going to get her chance with August. So this kind of, once you learn all this, we are then finally graced with the chapter and Lily's point of view.
Yes. So first, we find out that Emery did tell Lily that her and August were planning on leaving.
Yes.
So Lily did know, and they have a little...
And Emery also didn't understand Lily's reaction. Like, she knew she was going to be upset, but Lily was, like, devastated.
Yeah, like...
And Emery had no idea why.
Freaked out. Yeah. And she just kind of chalks it up to Lily was... Well, they say Lily was self-centered and terrified of being alone. So she kind of chalks it up to she's mad that we're leaving her on the island.
Yep.
And that we're going to get out of here and Lily's going to be kind of stuck here. But it was way more than that.
Yeah, because then that's when we find out that Lily was in love with August. And
in love.
Yes. And so when Emery tells her this, she immediately runs to August and more or less throws herself at him.
Yeah, like rips her clothes off and tries to force him to sleep with her and tries to force him to say that he won't leave.
So August basically is like, no, get off of me. I don't want this. This isn't right. He's just like, I want Emery and we're just friends. And Lily gets really upset.
Unhinged, upset.
Yes.
Even more unhinged than she already was before she went to go see August.
Agreed. And she basically runs to her grandma. She goes to Leota and she basically confesses that she's in love with August and she wants to get rid of Emery. And Leota's like, yes, let's do it.
Yeah.
And she leads Lily to the spell book. So she basically puts it into Lily's head to go get the spell from Albertine's spell book. Lets her know that she needs some sort of talisman for Emery. That's when Lily steals the necklace when she goes to see, or she's like snuck into Emery's room and leaves a note.
Yes.
to tell Emery to meet her wherever that evening. And at that time, she takes the necklace.
Yes. Yeah. So that she's trying to get Emery to meet her where she's going to perform the spell. She
Yeah.
takes the necklace. She breaks into Albertine's house and gets all the other things that she needs.
She gets the willow. She pulls the willow off the willow tree to make the bracelet. And then the last piece of the puzzle is she needs the certain herbs, which she gets from Leota. Leaves the cabinet unlocked. That's because it's a cabinet that she keeps under lock and key because it has bad stuff in there.
Yeah, it has very toxic herbs, and they make it a point. It's crazy how they tie it back to the beginning, because in the beginning, Emery goes to visit Leota at her shop and, comments on the fact that she's locking up the cabinet that has the herbs that are, that no one's allowed to get to.
Yeah, that's a good point. I totally forgot about that. But so Lily has everything she needs. She goes out into the woods and she starts the spell. And basically, here's the fucked up part. Is this girl is
what
willing
is the fucked up part?
that she's willing to murder her best friend.
Yes.
Just so she can it's not even guaranteed that she's going to get August in the end. But she's so convinced that if she can kill Emery and Emery is gone, she can be there for August when he's grieving.
Yes.
And then somehow sleep with him in a certain amount of time.
Yes.
So that the baby she's pregnant with, she could try to convince is his. I don't know how she thinks the timing is going to work.
I don't know if she knows how timing works. And also, even though her and Dutch are both blonde and August is olive-skinned, dark hair, dark eyes. Okay, we're going to ignore that. And also, how hot is August? That's another question I have.
Yeah.
And my third question is, how self-absorbed and self-centered do you have to be like, not only to get past the point of like, I'm going to kill my best friend, like we're going to pretend that that's not happening, because that's an obstacle that she already overcame. But to be like the only thing standing in the way. It, like, if she's not here, obviously I'm the number one choice. It is a small island, so she does have a point there, but just the self-confidence of Lily is something to behold.
I know. And I just remember when I read this book, I was so flabbergasted that Lily was just, I'm just going to off my best friend. She's just going to be gone. I don't give a fuck about anyone else or who else this is going to hurt in the situation. And it comes back around to her being this selfish person that only cares about herself.
Yeah. And also the fact that she probably could have done this and made it look like an accident. Like, they were always talking about these cliffs that they were sitting on, that they went swimming by. They were always hanging out in a lighthouse. Like, you probably could have done it and made it look like an accident. Instead, she's like, I should probably do dark magic. I know I have no experience with dark magic, but like, I should just give it a try to try to actually kill someone. My first dark spell isn't like to make someone have a lot of pimples. It's to kill them.
Turn someone into a lizard.
Yeah.
She's just jumping in, just diving right in, and it obviously doesn't go well. But the spell that she is trying to cast upon Emery, so she tells Emery to meet her, I believe, by water, which she's not going to be there.
Yeah.
Because the spell that she's doing makes Emery die by drowning.
Yes.
So if she's by a body of water, then it seems legit.
Yeah, like she fell in and she drowned.
Yes. So Lily casts the spell. She's like, I did it. Everything's great. She stands up, goes to leave, and then all of a sudden, she's coughing up water, and the spell backfires, and she drowns, and she dies, and she has all this seaweed in her. And when you read the police report, no one questions enough how Lily has water and seaweed in her body in the middle of the fucking forest.
They're like, she was not wet. Her hair was not wet. Her clothes were not wet, but she choked on seaweed. And they're just like, but August definitely killed her.
He definitely did it.
He definitely did it.
The orchard boy definitely did it.
Yeah. So this
Okay.
is the evidence we're working with. Okay.
Maybe if she choked on an apple, okay, yeah, maybe it was August. But like, she didn't choke on an apple. She choked on water.
Stop it. Don't bring the apples into this. That's
So,
unfair.
sorry. So Lily's chapter ends, and then we are graced with the Cersei Island chapter.
Oh,
And come to find out, the island basically was pissed that Lily was trying to murder Emery. So the island all of a sudden is like, not today, bitch.
not today, bitch.
And forces the spell, which it's crazy that the island has the ability to even do this when you think about it.
But that's the point, is that the island does. Like,
Yeah.
the island is like, no, Emery and August are going to be together.
Yes.
And just completely turns the magic on Lily and kills her by drowning her on dry land. Mm-hmm. The fact that the chapter was titled Cersei Island sent me. This damn island. The island got its own narrative. Every character, no character left behind. Okay.
Nope.
That was my favorite part.
I know.
Favorite part.
I know.
And basically, it just they hinted at it the whole book, that the island had this shadow over it, and it had this power, and it had this, this like dark undertone, and the island is like, see, look what I can do,
Right?
and kills Lily. Which, like, to be fair, fucked up, but Lily deserved it. So,
Well, yeah, it's more or less repercussions for her actions.
It's like that.
And the island, yeah.
It's that whole, like, when you're doing magic, especially dark magic, that you have to think about, like, there's always a way. Basically, it's like karma, but there's always a way that magic is paid back to you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
Especially when it comes to, like, dark magic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so the island makes its grand appearance and murders Lily itself. And, yeah, the island is definitely obsessed with Emery and August.
Yeah. So Emery puts this all together and realizes, imagine for Emery, she has been trying to get to the bottom of this for 14 years. To try and, like, clear August's name. She missed Lily, and then she comes to find out that her best friend was trying to kill her to get to her mans. That's rough. That's a rough thing to find out. I bet you wish that you didn't open the door on that.
Honestly. So she puts, like you said, she puts two and two together, and then she goes to find August, and then August is just missing. There's glass shattered on the porch, and Emery knows that he's been basically kidnapped, or that someone took him.
Yes.
And so she goes to her father, who she doesn't really have a great relationship right now, and she's basically like, you need to help me find August.
Yeah.
I need to know. What did you do? Blah, blah, blah. And
in true mystery thriller fashion, these things are happening at the exact same time.
Simultaneously.
Yes, simultaneously, that she finds out the truth and that August has been kidnapped.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, who else would be in charge of the kidnapping but Leota Morgan? Because
of course,
Leota knows that August is fishing around, or at least she knows that someone's fishing around, and that they need to get rid of August once and for all by murdering him. There's a lot of murder in this book.
There is just so much bloodthirst. Like, about an orchard. About an orchard. Okay, I'm sorry, go on. I can't get over it.
No, I mean, it is what it is. So she tells everybody, she gets Jake and Bernard and everyone, and Nixie, and basically tells them that this blood is on their hands too.
Yeah.
And that because Nixie signed off on August's signature on the deed when he really didn't sign it and everything. And she kind of forces Jake's hand and was like, you need to get rid of him.
Yeah. And they feel like they're in too deep at this point. Like they're already responsible for so much and like for hiding all of this and all these secrets and all this, like they kind of feel like they have no choice. So when Leota is just telling them, no, this is what we're doing, no one feels they kind of start to say like, no, girl, we can't do that. And she's like, no, 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 it's happening. And they're like,
Yeah.
okay, if you say so.
And if Leota had her magic, she definitely would have taken care of him by now.
Oh, absolutely.
She would have, if she, and I think she brings it up too in the chapter, that if she had the capability to take care of August herself, she would have done so.
She would have done so 14 years ago.
Yeah. And August realizes when they're at the house on the water over the cliff or whatever, he's going to die.
Yeah. And their whole thing is they're going to push him off and make it look like a suicide.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, I think before he gets kidnapped, he finds out from his lawyer friend that he has the will and that his grandpa did in fact leave him the orchard.
Yeah.
It was left to him, not to the town.
Yes.
So he has all this information. So he can figure out, the writings on the wall when he's in the situation that he's in right now. And that they want this orchard so bad that they are now willing to kill somebody over it.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah. Literally. And he's like, I was literally going to leave. Like I was going to leave.
Yeah.
Emery made me stay here so that we could figure out what the hell's going on. I was trying to leave.
And he like literally wants nothing to do with the orchard, and they're just not even like hearing him out. And he can't believe that Jake is going to kill him right now. It's just the whole situation is messed up.
Yeah. It's a lot because, as we talked about, Jake was his, step-in father figure who turned on him 14 years ago. And if they just asked August to sign over the orchard, he would have been like, okay, where is the pen? Like,
he's like, I would sign with my blood. I don't want
this. He's like, I will give you a blood signature. I don't care. And they just have it in their mind that there's like no possible way that someone wouldn't want the orchard.
Yeah. And then right before Jake's going to murder August, a car pulls up and it's Emery and her dad. A bunch of the ancestors dip. They're like, fuck this, I'm out.
Like, what?
And Emery throws herself in front of August, putting Jake in an impossible position. Jake's like, move. And then all of a sudden her dad comes up, he cocks a gun at Jake, and it's just there's just guns aflutter. Everyone has a gun.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden Leota pops up and she puts her, she's like, I'm just going to kill all of you. Like, this is stupid. And
I mean, the funny part is everyone has a gun, but the real problem is that the island could kill you all without a gun.
Oh, I know.
So your guns won't work, but
Nope.
Your guns won't work. But anyway.
And then Emery basically gets Leota to admit to everything.
Oh, yeah.
And Leota admits to the fact that she got Lily killed, in a sense.
Yeah, that she knew.
And she didn't care about it.
That she knew what Lily was planning, and that after Lily died, she knew what must have happened. Like, she knew that it must have backfired. And I have this quote from Leota, which is so wild. Okay, quote. That orchard belongs to the Morgans, not the Salts. Lily was the sacrifice the island required. What?
So because Lily, her spell backfired and she died, this was the in for Leota to get August, suspected for murder
and kicked
to get him off the island, so that she could. So
that's
could
her
give a fuck about a family.
That
doesn't care.
She said
her granddaughter is not an apple tree. She doesn't care.
She said, if my granddaughter is not producing apples,
we're done.
We're out. If she's not an apple factory, she can go. Like, that just truly, they did not care about Lily's death at all. Like she said, I think she convinced herself that she thought it was a necessary sacrifice so that she could live with herself, because, she's the one who gave her that last ingredient and kind of egged her on and talked her into doing this spell. But then we see that that's the actual reason they didn't want August back. It's not because they wanted justice for Lily or even that they thought he did it. They didn't care as long as they got the orchard.
No,
it's just,
exactly.
It's so baffling to me. And then all they do is like complain about the orchard.
I know.
I don't know.
So now it's just this standoff.
Yes.
And Emery and August are basically like, listen, we're leaving the island. Just let us go. We don't want to be here anymore. Keep the fucking orchard. We don't care. We just want to go.
Yeah.
And so they do. Leota, Jake, and her dad let August and Emery leave. They
So
get in the
they
truck
barter
and they go.
the will.
Yeah.
They barter the will for the letter, which we didn't talk about the
Yes.
letter, but
Oh,
there is
yeah.
the letter that August's mom wrote to Emery's mom that basically says something to the effect of like insinuating that August is guilty, and what he's actually guilty for is setting the fire. But if you read the letter, it sounds like it's incriminating
He killed
him.
Lily.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
so Emery says like, we won't share the will that says the orchard belongs to August with our lawyer friend if you don't ever share that letter that incriminates August. And they just kind of make a trade, and that's the only way. Because I guess, Leota and Jake see this is either going to end in a shootout, or we're just going to have to trust that they're going to keep their word.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. So August and Emery leave the island.
She wishes.
And then, I know, in her dreams. So they're gone, and you kind of get an epilogue of a sense. And August and Emery now have two girls. They have 2 kids. They're happily, I'm assuming they're married. I'm not sure, but they're happily together. They have their 2 daughters, and they're so happy to be away from the island, and life is great.
And Emery is finally able to practice her magic. She felt like the island stopped her from practicing her magic.
And even though she's not on the island, she's still teaching her daughters the ways that she was brought up by her mom and her grandma.
Yeah.
And she's still in keeping that tradition. And the book basically ends with the youngest daughter drawing this picture. And Emery and August like, oh, like, what did you draw? And she's like, oh, the island, or whatever it was.
Yes.
And they're like, fuck. So it comes back around to, you can leave the island, but the island's going to call you back, which we talked about before.
Yeah.
It's going to call you back at some point, even if you leave.
It's going to hold on no matter how far or hard you try to get away.
And this island definitely wants Emery and August.
Oh, yeah.
If this book was any indication, this island was hot for Emery and August.
Oh, absolutely. They were standing. Do the kids still say that?
Yeah.
They were standing, August and Emery. And I think the picture was a little reminder, like, you're welcome. I did this for you.
That's a good point, too.
But it was definitely like the ending scene of a movie where it's just like setting you up for that sequel. Like, and they both look at each other like, what?
Yeah, I actually liked the ending. I thought that was a perfect way to tie it up.
Well, it's also, I hate when it's just a one chapter epilogue that's just like, and then they lived happily ever after. Like, I really liked how they added just that little bit to show it's not just happily ever after. It's still, they are who they are. They have their history, and the island always wins.
Yep.
Wow. That was a wild ride. It
was.
You had me thinking we were going to be reading a little magic love story, but what we were actually reading was an autumnal novel about apples.
Yeah, and I read it in October, which was the perfect time to read this book. I read it at the perfect time.
You're like, and now we need to go apple picking.
Yes.
Amazing.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so before we are going to do a casting, a dream movie cast for the core 4, but before that, let's do our final rating. And so last month I did history books. This month I'm gonna do spell books.
Oh,
so out of 5 spell books, I obviously gave this book 5 out of 5. I loved it.
Did you?
I did.
Okay.
I was upset. I devoured this book. I finished it in 2 days. I couldn't put it down. I loved it. I loved everything about it. And I really liked, like, magical realism for me is just, it hits every spot.
Yeah.
And I thought the storytelling was great. I thought the story was good. I didn't see the concept of Lily's death coming at
Oh,
all.
hell no.
That was a shock to me.
Yeah.
And I like that because I like that I couldn't predict. I like that I couldn't predict where the book was going.
You didn't put any money on the fact that she was going to drown on dry land on seaweed?
No,
That's
I didn't. I'm sorry.
Oh.
That wasn't on my whatever.
I think
bingo
it's
card.
I think it's a genre, but all right, that's fine.
So I just did. I thought she did. That's why I really want to read her other books because I do like YA books.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to checking out her other books.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I gave it a 4. I did really like it. I liked the nature, I liked the island and the magic, but I just wanted more. Like it was such a slow start for me. I mean, I devoured it too in that way because I wanted to know what happened, but I felt like there was so much focus on how broken Emery was after August left, and which I think was necessary for the story, but we don't get enough of them reconnecting. Like I wanted more of them.
Oh, I agree. I agree with that.
So I felt like they focused too much on mourning the past when that time could have been spent on like more magic and more of them just falling in love again.
You're not wrong. Listen, again, every opinion is valid.
Yeah. And I definitely like the magical realism too. I think this is a genre that I didn't know how much I liked until I read this.
Mm-hmm. And there's been a couple other books I've seen on Bookstagram that have a magical realism feel to it. So I'm really excited to dive into those
I think
too.
we have one planned in a couple episodes.
We do.
Yeah.
And ironically, Eric picked my new book out of my jar and that book came out. I was like, oh no, I can't read
Can't
that
read that yet.
I was like, just take it out. I forgot I put it in there. Take it out. I was like, I can't read that yet. All right. So movie casting. Let's start with Dutch.
Okay.
I know we discussed this.
Well, to be
ironic.
fair, we only discussed our one pick. The other picks we don't know what each other has.
So I chose Liam Hemsworth.
And I chose Chris Hemsworth.
This was not planned. I don't know. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, oh, Chris Hemsworth is probably the better option. Maybe like young Dutch could be Liam. And then grown-up Dutch could be Chris.
Yes, because it was difficult because we were kind of casting for both young and old of the characters. So Chris Hemsworth is a little on the older side, but I just picture him as like big and burly and like, I don't know why I picture him as a farmer because he works on an apple orchard, but you know what I mean.
Same difference.
Apparently, with the way they talk about it.
Mm-hmm. So that was funny. And then my August choice. So reading the book, he has, the shaggy hair and he wears these glasses sometimes. And ironically, I've been seeing pictures of this actor with shaggy hair and glasses. So I immediately went to him. And my choice was Tom Holland.
Oh, that's a good pick.
Yeah.
I like that. I didn't even think about him because I usually see him with the short hair.
Yeah. No, he's recently in interviews, he's had this like long shaggy mop on his head and he's been wearing these like black rimmed glasses and I was like, oh, it's August.
Oh, I could totally see that. Okay, I picked Kit Harington from
nice. That's
Game
a
of
good one
Thrones.
too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's a little on the older side also, but he has that shaggy hair and that like, I don't know, just that look of like, you don't really know what's going on. But then you could tell when he looks at Emery that he loves her.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I can see that. I feel like my female choices are spot on.
I like mine too.
I really like them.
Let's see.
So for Lily, I have Sydney Sweeney from Euphoria.
Oh,
the girl that plays Cassie.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very good one because she's a little bit. She's good at playing unhinged.
And she was in White Lotus. Yeah, she plays really good unhinged characters.
Okay, I have Emma Roberts.
Nice, she's a good one
Yeah,
too.
she's also good at playing totally self-centered and unhinged.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those are both
also
good
a good
ones.
one. Yeah, and then Emery, the actress I have for Emery, she's not super well known, but in the sense of the magic, this also helped me. I don't know if you've ever watched The Witcher.
I haven't.
But her name is Anya I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but it's like Shalatra. She plays Yennefer on The Witcher. She's this witch on The Witcher. And I think that she's a really good choice for Emery.
Oh, I just looked her up. Yes. Mm-hmm. I could definitely see that. And she has the big eyes. That's what I was hung up on, the big eyes, they said. And like, obviously the darker features.
Yeah.
I picked Lily Collin.
Oh, she's a good choice too.
Because she has those super dark features too.
Mm-hmm.
And like those doe eyes. And I could see her and Kit Harington together.
Yeah, you're not right. Two Brits.
Exactly. So I think we both had good picks.
Yeah. I'm still cracking up over the Hemsworth choices.
I can't believe we both picked a Hemsworth of all the people.
I know. I know. We're like, you know what? I don't know why. I'm just reading him and I couldn't stop picturing Liam Hemsworth. I don't know why. I just couldn't stop.
I know.
Maybe it's because of the new Miley Cyrus song that's out.
That could be
and
it.
I just have Hemsworth on my mind.
That could definitely be it. Yeah. Yeah, he was the easiest one for me to pick. I was like, oh, obviously it's Chris Hemsworth with the long hair like tucked behind his ears. He's buff. He's hot. Like, yeah.
So that's our movie casting. Of course, we'll post about it on our socials.
Yes.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Not gonna lie to you, it's been a fun ride trying to record it. But we're here and we did it.
We had some technical issues, but we are doing our best, and we're doing our best. Appreciate everyone who is giving us a chance and listening.
Yep. So we are on Instagram and TikTok at Fully Booked Cast Pod, and we are basically on every podcast platform.
Yep.
Except for like one or two. So like, subscribe, download. It helps us to see everyone that's downloading. It's cool, really cool. We have listeners all over the world, which is wild to me.
It's amazing. And we can't believe it, and we also love it.
Yes. And we're going to start a new section of the podcast coming up. We're going to do listener questions, and we'll let you guys know what books we're going to be reading and ask you guys if you have any questions you want us to address about the book.
Yeah.
So that will be coming in our future episodes. So thanks for checking us out. And remember,
if you need us, we're fully booked.
Bye.
Bye.